Alright, Hooties, here we are. The possibly last review of Hootsgiving, and one of the worst episodes with John Redcorn. Rest in peace, Jonathan Josh. Again, I really don't know how they're going to deal with his passing in Season 15. In my opinion, they should just sunset John Redcorn. Nancy should be done with the affair, and John deserves a proper send-off. And I mean the voice actor behind the character, not the character. Maybe have John move to Arizona or something, and the last scene be John driving off into the sunset, and have it say dedicated to Jonathan Josh before fading to black. But let's get back to the episode, Season 5, Episode 4, where John Redcorn manipulates Bobby into sabotaging this year's Thanksgiving because he can't spend time with Joseph. Now, yes, this was 7 episodes after the episode Nancy's Boys, where Nancy ended the affair with John, and John isn't his dad. Dale is. She isn't entirely innocent here. I can't stand either of them in this episode. John for filling Bobby's head with garbage about Thanksgiving, which I'm not saying there was never a dark side to Thanksgiving or what went down. Redcorn only did this because he couldn't spend time with Joseph and took that frustration out by having Bobby ruin the Thanksgiving party dinner he wasn't invited to. And then there's Nancy, who is the reason for John not being able to spend time with Joseph by telling him he can't go or telling Hank to make him leave. Which, I don't know why she thinks she has the moral high ground on him when she was also in the making of Joseph just as much as Redcorn. But you guys let me know who's more in the wrong here, John, Nancy, or are both just as guilty, and the comments can be a place of harmony. Either way, let's get to talking about King of the Hill, Season 5, Episode 4, Spin the Choice. We begin with Hank and Bobby having some breakfast, Bobby enjoying some of that good old Grandma's cookies.
I love you, Grandma.
As Hank is too excited to let Bobby know that he's letting him carve one of the 3 turkeys this year. And this line from Bobby is just funny.
I wasn't ready last year. I realize that now.
It's like Bobby's version of accepting the great sword Excalibur. Or Excalibur. I await my award for the funniest pun in the comments. Also, what funny pun or joke would you add to the scene? But sweet moment from Hank and Bobby. Also, did Hank say 3 Tom turkeys? This is gonna be one big turkey day. I wonder who's all gonna show up. Hank lets Bobby train his carving skills on a loaf of bread, then tests Bobby's concentration.
Oh my God, it's so juicy!
Oh no, Bobby, you gotta be more careful with your turkey carving. You don't wanna cut a hunk of turkey and mess up. Who knows who will be there? So you gotta make sure there's a hunk for everyone. Then again, there will be 3 turkeys anyways. Hank warns about having to tune people out while on carving duty.
People will be so jazzed by the moistness of the turkey, you'll have to tune them out.
Hank's right. You gotta learn not to pay attention to the random people, or more than likely Bill trying to get into that big cooked bird. But since it's Hank, I'm certain that it's going to be smoked with that clean, burning perfection. So you gotta tune them out and be on your guard for a sudden turkey picking from the bulldozer. Dale and John Redcorn speak about his lawsuit and get more land for his tribe, and Joseph walks in, and John tries to make small talk by telling him he'll be speaking at his class today, and it's as awkward as you think. John, you're not Joseph's dad. Stop trying to make small talk like a dad. You're just Mr. Redcorn to Joseph, and Dale is his father, and Dale is your friend, right? I mean, he's helping you sue the government for the land that you say is owed to you. Maybe not act like Joseph was also taken from you when he was never your son to begin with. He isn't Big Mountain Fudge Cake where you can claim is yours because you helped make it. I don't know if that's a good analogy, but still. And you have the gall to complain to Nancy about not being able to see him, and she has to remind you whose son he is.
Shug, he's Dale's son, remember?
See that now, but when it comes time to get him into college, let's see what box you check.
Give him credit. At the time of this episode airing and Joseph still in middle school, that was a good point. But now with season 14 out and more to come, we see that he still thinks he's a white guy and hasn't gone to college. So now that the series has continued, his little gotcha is like his status as Joseph's father. It doesn't exist. At Tom Landry Middle School, Redcorn talks about how his people's land is now central and southern Texas, and how his land was taken by the white man, and Bobby asks if it was really the white man that took his land because this is the first time he's hearing of this, to which John confirms it, leading to a funny reaction from both of them.
Wow.
Yes, wow.
Now, I'm not a history expert. That's a job better suited for more experienced and intelligent people like Squirrel Tactics to discuss. But if I'm not mistaken, a lot of the more darker and sinister aspects of American history has been, well, altered or outright omitted from history books, particularly from school books. I mean, it's not a secret about the messed up things that happened in the past, especially when it comes to the founding of America, and what happened to the indigenous people that lived there before us. And yes, it's indigenous and not Indian. They're only called that because when the settlers first arrived, they believed that they were in India. But again, I'm no expert. Redcorn sees Bobby's curiosity as a chance to spend time with Joseph and asks if he wants a ride home, and Joseph isn't even reacting to the request, like Bobby is. Which I don't blame him. It's really creepy. Yeah, his parents know him, and the last Thanksgiving he seemed interested in where he was going and how long he'd be gone. But that's it. Joseph doesn't see you as anything more than a friend of his mom and his dad, aka Dale, not you. Heck, I think he sees Hank more as a father figure than you, Redcorn. So no, I don't think Joseph is really interested in taking a ride with you when he hardly even knows you. Let's see if we can find anything less creepy to talk about. Peggy asks Luann if she's ready for another Thanksgiving Boggle tournament this year, and Luann lets her thoughts spill out instead of keeping them to herself.
And Peggy, everybody hates your Boggle tournament.
What?
What?
Well, to be fair, Luann would be the one that has trouble keeping her inner thoughts in her head and not just say them. But also, why would you give grades and not prizes? I mean, I'm sure you probably can afford some good prizes, but I'm sure you can think of something nice and from the heart that isn't just a wow or get an A for awesome job. But we see what Peggy does at the big Thanksgiving party dinner thing, which I'm surprised this is the only time they've had a massive Thanksgiving party for not only his family, but his friends and neighbors. And also John Redcorn, as you'll see later on, in an attempt to spend time with his son, quote unquote, that isn't his. He corrupts Bobby's views on Thanksgiving with the truth, yes, but he just uses Bobby to ruin the big Thanksgiving party, all because he can't spend time with Joseph. But that ran out of the way. Let's get back to the review. Redcorn waits outside the school for Joseph and is upset when only Bobby took him up on the offer, then goes on a rant about how the white man is to blame, and unfortunately gets Bobby's curiosity about it. Of course, there isn't anything wrong about teaching Bobby about the truth about Thanksgiving, or what Redcorn said was the truth. Again, I'm no history expert. But also, again, he's just doing this so Bobby can pass it on to Joseph, who clearly has no interest in whatever he wants him to do. But let's get to Peggy, as she and Luann pick a game that everyone would want to play, and Peggy chooses the combo of choosing and spinning.
The name of the game is Spin the Choice.
Oh wow, Peggy! That's so creative of a name. And what exactly are the rules? Do you spin a wheel and choose the prize, or spin for a chance for another prize? Okay, that does sound interesting. Until the good prizes are taken, then what? Are you gonna have backup prizes? Or will you hand out gold stars that you didn't use in your class? I guess we'll see at the Thanksgiving dinner party, but it is good to see Peggy actually changing things up, so it's not just the same boggling grades that she always does. Also, we get a cute laugh from Luann. Always important to take note of all cute Luann laughs. Since we're on the topic of cute stuff Luann does, I want to compliment her adorable red sweater and black sweats or leggings. They look like they're a Thanksgiving version of her Halloween outfit in the episode Halloween, where she wore a orange sweater and blue jeans. Hey, you may think this is important, but I want to talk about how adorable Luann is before I start to get angry about Bobby, which was started by Big Bad John Redcorn. Which I guess is as good a time as any to get to when Bobby gets home, as the boys are getting a fryer ready to fry up one of the turkeys. And it seems Bobby isn't as excited about Thanksgiving than when he first found out he would be carving a turkey this year.
You and your white people stole hundreds of thousands of acres from John Redcorn, and now you celebrate by frying a turkey? When does the killing end?
Okay, so first and most obvious, you're white, Bobby. You're about as white as mayo. Why do you think you're excluded from that? Also, Hank had no part in any of Redcorn's problems. You would be guilty if that was the case. And the flip-flop, just because John Redcorn told you about the white man, has taken so much from him. Which I guarantee you is just upset about how Joseph not being in his life. I mean, he's getting help from Dale to sue the government, something Dale takes great joy in, so you should know that Dale will put 100% of his skills into, which, aside from being a paranoid, bug-killing, Dale, if there was anyone that could help you take back your land you're owed, it's Dale. And you know what? What tribe are you referring to? I don't ever seen them, or if you have family, is that who you're seeing in Arizona in the last Thanksgiving special? I'm genuinely asking because Redcorn is right in ways, but where it gets muddled is when you find out that his real goal is spending time with Joseph and not telling Bobby about the dark aspects of Thanksgiving. Last thing I want to talk about here is the funny response from Bill and Dale.
Hank, you're terrible.
I am not.
Just give him his land back, Hank.
I love how you can't tell if they're serious or if they're just messing with Hank. Either way, it's a really funny delivery from them. Now I bring up small moments of the funny variety because of the huge amounts of annoyance coming from Redcorn trying to force himself into Joseph's life when he has no interest in John, Nancy for acting like she stopped the affair, that she could no longer be in the wrong for what she started, and Bobby for what Redcorn told him and trying to ruin Hank's Thanksgiving party. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but Bobby had himself a bit of literature with him, and I wonder who gave the book to Bobby. Yeah, that makes sense. Here, Bobby, have a book about the white man has done. Hey, when you're done with the book, maybe share it with your friend. Oh, I'm not specifically mentioning anyone in particular, but maybe your friend Joseph would like to read it. But hey, no pressure. Yeah, that's not a sad attempt to get Joseph through Bobby. Now, I'm not saying that Redcorn could be passing that on to Bobby just to spend time with Joseph. Maybe Redcorn wants to teach Bobby the dark reality of what happened back then. But it doesn't make up for the fact that we know what his true motives are. Hank calls out Bobby's sudden nonsense, and Bobby acts like an absolute stuck-up brat out of nowhere, waving his H-dumpy arm and saying he's not carving no turkeys. I hate it when Bobby gets like this. He's so easily manipulated by anything or anyone that he thinks is a mentor or influence on him. He literally has no thoughts of his own besides what he hears from others, and thinks he should be like that, and it's only going to get worse. But we'll get there later on. Poor Hank had his hopes up that this was going to be a normal Thanksgiving for once. He wouldn't have to worry about his dad, or being stuck at the airport, or Peggy letting her ego ruin Thanksgiving. Funny enough, that episode, Bobby wasn't the problem. Speaking of which, as much as I can't stand the little stuck-up brat Bobby became, we can't forget who it was that set him on this path in the first place.
Well, Jahan Redcorn.
Sorry, I just love that scene with Peggy. We see Bobby keep with his snobby attitude, even with Joseph, who just wants to do weird stuff. But Bobby wants to sip his hot chocolate while reading on how to ruin Hank's Thanksgiving party by acting like making his protest feast is going to accomplish anything but ruin Thanksgiving and make things interesting for Redcorn, but not in the way he wants. Redcorn is driving around and spots Joseph and continues to act like a creep, hitting the reverse and trying to give him an old headdress. He is not impressed. Oh, I'm sure you really wasn't riding around looking for Joseph to ride by. Also, why is his handlebars so low down? Can he just move them up? You'd think that Dale would have something, or Hank. Speaking of Hank, he finds Redcorn and tells him off for turning Bobby into a snotty brat, and this is his response.
I want my son back.
Your son? Your son? Let me repeat myself because you clearly didn't hear me before. I mean, you didn't hear me since you're a fictional character. But you're not Joseph's father! You're his donor! Stop acting like you're his father! Plus, how pathetic are you to act all self-righteous to Bobby and Nancy like you're owed to be Joseph's father, but you fold like wet tissues when Hank rightly calls you out? Now, instead of telling Redcorn to stop crying and stop trying to force yourself to Joseph's life when you have no right to be there as a father, a family friend, yeah, but you're trying to be his father is not okay, and it's creepy. But it's Hank we're talking about, so this is Hank's response. Okay, not gonna lie, if someone acts like a blubbering mess like Redcorn, then falls on me crying like that, me, a 3.5-foot owl, mind you, is supposed to give them any kind of comfort? Yeah, I think I'd react like Hank did too. But let's get to the Thanksgiving party, and the fam and friends fams are here as Bobby is still acting snotty, still shouting out hypocritical statements.
I refuse to eat the white man's white meat.
Bobby, you're whiter than some of the people here. Also, who does Boomhauer have with him? Even on Thanksgiving, he's still getting it. Let's take our attention away from that ungrateful Bobby and move on to Peggy explaining the rules to Spin the Choice. And I would have Peggy explain the rules for you, Hooties, but for one, I don't want to risk the copyright block. And also, I refuse to let you Hooties be forced to listen to the absolute lunacy that is Spin the Choice, or the ones that haven't seen the episode before watching this review, which I know there are those who don't watch the episodes before the review, and even you shall be spared from the ear-bleeding insanity of Spin the Choice. Redcorn inadvertently saves Nancy from the insanity, and Peggy thankfully lets us know what happened.
She loves the game, but her ex-lover just showed up. Most players won't face such distractions.
Yeah, Peggy, Nancy was so enthralled by your game and not just trying to comprehend the jumbled insanity you just dumped in her ear that she took another second to try and understand it. Her hair, or more than likely wig, would catch fire from her brain working in overtime. Pop quiz: why would Nancy be possibly wearing a wig at this point in the series? And even be wearing a wig in season 14? Show your knowledge of the tales of one Hank Rutherford Hill and his silly, wacky cast of characters and their misadventures in the small, humble city of Arlen, Texas in the comments, if you're thankful for all the things your Hootie does for your fellow Hooties. And if you aren't a fellow Hootie and want to join in on all this fun, well, give that subscribe button a calm but firm tap as soon as you'll find that your hand has now become a Hootie hand, and you are now a Hoot like me. Also, let me know if you saw the subscribe button light up or whatever they do now. I don't know. Nancy does what everyone, well, the smart characters do in the show.
Would you mind kicking him out?
Here. I can't stand Nancy here. She acts like, since she ended the affair, that she could be absolved of all wrongdoing. And it was all Redcorn's fault. But in fact, it's both their faults. Hank reluctantly walks over and sees why Redcorn is there, and surprisingly, Bobby invited him. And when Hank questions how Bobby has the authority to just invite a grown man to the Thanksgiving party for only the neighborhood's family, he reminds Hank of when he was crying, and Hank gets uncomfortable and just lets it happen. Because of course Hank can't just stand on business to tell John Redcorn to leave when he has to get away from them feelings. And it's not like Redcorn cares about what Bobby's doing. He pretends that he does, and then he sees Joseph, then makes a beeline for him, which Nancy shuts it down. But Dale walks in and shows him the settlement the government is offering, 12 acres of the 130,000 he was seeking. Now, I'm rather conflicted on this. On the one hand, Redcorn has no business trying to be in Joseph's life because he's not Joseph's father, just the donor. However, how is 12 acres out of 130,000 acres anything but an insult? I can understand his frustration about being given this joke of an offer, but I am no legal expert here, so I'll just leave it at that. Dale makes a toast, and in Dale fashion, makes the settlement sound as bad as it is, as Redcorn makes a toast of his own.
To the white man, who steals our land and steals our sons.
To the white man.
Leave it to Dale for once again not realizing that was meant as an insult to Dale, whom, may I add, John Redcorn, has been helping you reclaim land that has been taken from your people and was genuinely happy when he got the government to offer a settlement, which I do agree is a horrible offer, to which I'd fight them on, but to take it out on Dale, who, may I add, you were cheating with his wife, who is also in the wrong. Don't think I forgot your part in this creation of Joseph, Nancy. When it comes to Thanksgiving, you really aren't all that thankful there, Redcorn. Shah! Everyone else, on the other hand, is picking up on the uncomfortable vibes, and Hank decides to make a Hail Mary and lets Bobby speak.
Thank you for finally hearing our voice.
I'm not gonna repeat myself on how Bobby is speaking as if he's not the whitest person at the party with Mr. Rogers fit here, so I'll just move on to him giving his authentic Thanksgiving feast that honors the Native American, more specifically the Anasazi people, and their practice of, well, what do they do, Bobby?
So today we salute the Native American cannibal or people eater. Mr. Redcorn, this head's for you.
Wow, Bobby, what a riveting tradition that is really going to go well with the others here, and specifically for Redcorn. I wonder how well Joseph takes this information. Joseph thinks Redcorn is a people eater. He freaks out thinking this is the logical way to handle a situation, totally not freaking out poor Joseph any more than he already is.
Get your hands off me, you cannibal freak!
Yeah, that's about right. How else he was supposed to react? You practically lunged at him. Did you not think he was going to react like you were trying to gobble him up like Thanksgiving dinner? Honestly, your biggest mistake was thinking you could get to Joseph through Bobby, then feeding Bobby all this "the white man stole everything" to him, then thinking he wasn't going to cause him to ruin Thanksgiving with that thanks for nothing display. Dale was mature enough to bring Redcorn some leftovers, as Redcorn has a temper tantrum and apologizes for his son, and Redcorn sits Dale down about to tell him the truth about Joseph, but thankfully, Redcorn respects Dale, so even at his angriest, he couldn't bring himself to tell Dale the truth.
Do I still need to use an ashtray?
Wow, Johnny, you really don't look like you're about to take a chomp out of Dale, but I do have to respect him for not telling Dale about what happened. But let's get back to the party, where everyone is having so much fun playing Spin the Truth, as Nancy talks to Joseph about John Redcorn, and it seems that she's going to tell him the truth, as Redcorn tries to tell Dale the truth and also explain that he isn't a cannibal, while Dale smokes through a whole pack of Manitobas. Seriously, Dale, lay off the smokes. I know you're nervous right now, but you don't need to shorten your life any shorter. Back at the party, Bill is ready to spin the prize wheel, and I can't believe he didn't get that Winnebago. Because Peggy really does have that, huh, Bill? Peggy, just put stuff you have already. Also, how did your arm spin at the prize when you know you don't have it? But I'm sure you have that Mazda or Mercedes hidden away in the garage. Dale calls Hank and thinks Redcorn has him trapped, and we get this funny scene.
You have to save me, Hank. Now here's the plan.
Dale, you're just going pss, pss, pss.
Well, I've got nothing.
Leave it to Dale to still bring the laughs, even when he's scared out of his pants, which is when he's at his funniest. Hank goes to get Dale, and Joseph and Bobby wanted to go, as we get more of Bobby's self-righteous hypocrisy, and Hank has to remind him that eating people is wrong, and finally is able to talk some sense into Bobby, and says that he can carve the last turkey, and even lets him use the carving knife. But he don't need that knife. That bad boy is so dang succulent. Hank's words, not mine. Now that Bobby stopped being a snotty brat, that was a sweet moment between Hank and Bobby. Meanwhile, Joseph is sitting in back watching this all go down. Hank arrives as Redcorn is sitting outside, more than likely contemplating what to do, as Dale acts like he's making a great escape. Mission accomplished, Dale. You escaped Redcorn's trailer, which you could have just walked out the door. I mean, it was unlocked. Joseph goes to his dad, Dale, as Redcorn intends on telling them both the truth, but after Joseph tells him what Nancy told him, that which was a form of the truth, Redcorn accepts the 12 acres, which again wasn't as much as he wanted, but still is quite a bit of land, and Hank offers some advice about it.
I am thinking about suing the highway department to put in a sound dampening fence.
What a way to end a Thanksgiving episode. That was Spin the Choice. Again, this is, in my opinion, the second worst Thanksgiving episode of the series. Hopefully I can get this out before or on Thanksgiving, so you can watch all of my Hootsgiving reviews while you eat your delicious Thanksgiving din-din with your famine friends. Thanks for watching. Let me know what you Hooties think of the episode and the review in the comments. As always, your feedback and opinions mean a lot, and I can't thank you all enough for all of your support. Don't forget to like, share with your fam and cheese. If you're new to the channel, subscribe and join the Parliament of Hoots today. I'll try and get a review out by the end of Hootsgiving, but if not, I'll see you for the first review of Hootmas. Thanks for watching, and until then, I'll see you when you visit the Owlery again, and I give my hoot in the dark. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share with your fam, subscribe today and join the Parliament of Hoots, and let me know what you think of this episode in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my other social medias like Instagram, Twitter, Twitch, and my PlayStation Network account. Don't forget to check out these 2 videos, it'll take you to more of my content, and I can't wait to see you for another Hootsgiving.